Hey guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to be talking about heat tape. How we use it with a cage, how it's used in stackable enclosures, and how you set it up. So let's get started. Outside in the garage, it's going to be a little bit dusty. I'm in the middle of working and I'm dirty too, so just ignore that. But right here, first we're going to show you what heat tape is. So this is heat tape. I like to use the THG. You can get it on Reptile Basics and a few other sites. And basically, this is all it is. It's heat tape, which it's a little bit of copper and wiring, and it's got a plastic coating, but it's safe and it's flexible, so it can be used for a lot of different things. And I'm going to show you how to hook it up and how to use them on cages. These are going to be some of my PVC cages that we build at Obscure Reptiles and Caging. A lot of people do these slightly different, but this is going to be the basic way on how to do this stuff. So this right here, this is the bottom of one of my cages, and this is showing you what recessed heat tape is. So this right here is a 3x2x1 enclosure, and this is used for things like corn snakes, ball pythons, hog nose, or any reptile that requires heat or no heat. You can get these without the heat tape. But what I do is I router out a section so that this is actually below the level. So one, when you're sliding these around, you're not going to catch it on anything. And two, it allows the heat to transfer in. Just so you know, heat tape doesn't have a top or bottom. So it could be the shiny side up or down, won't affect it whatsoever. But this is how it's recessed in, and they come with a plug. Well, we're going to show you how to put a plug on the end. So what you're going to do is this plugs right into your thermostat. You're going to put a probe, I'll show you where, inside the enclosure, and you can have this heated up to anything. So for example, you have a ball python and they need heat, you can have this hooked up, set it to like 93. So this side of the enclosure will be around 80 and this will be around 93. So this is just a larger roll of it, but I'm going to show you how you hook it up and install everything. So what you're going to do is you're going to use a regular hole punch, and you hole punch in the copper. You go right near the edge and you put one on each side. It's actually layers. So you take these, I get these pre-made. You can do other things, but this ends up being one of the safest and easiest ways. So I like to pre-buy these. And since it's kind of going to be hard, it's going to be a little difficult to see, but it's actually the copper. It's like really thin, but you can actually slide it in there. So you can see that it's completely inside. You slide it in there, and then you get rivets. You pop one rivet in. I like to put the bigger one on bottom, so it's easier and it'll hold it in place for you. Then there's smaller rivets. Pop it on top. There's actually tools for this, but I just use a pair of Kleins. And then you're going to clamp it down until that wire is no longer moving. So now it's so tight, I can't move that wire. You need a really good connection, so nice and tight like that. And then repeat on the other side. It is really frustrating the first few times to try to get it in between, but it is two separate. It's frustrating to get it in between the copper, but you can do it. So then again, we're going to grab the larger rivet, pop it in, smaller one, clamp it down so it can't move. Then when you purchase these, like if you get them through Reptile Basics, the actual wire sets like this, instead of wrapping it with electrical tape, they give you these pre-made pieces. They go like that. And it fully covers, so you can't get shocked, can't be any problems. Put one on each side. And that's it for setting up. Pop that one on there. That one's good to go. So when you cut this, so you can cut this. When you cut this, what you do is you cut on the clear sections. Never cut on the black. There's actually, the heat element goes through the black, so when you cut, you can safely cut as long as it's right on that clear section. And I will show you how you can use it and how you hook them up for your reptile enclosure. So this is just an example for you. This will look like this when I'm finished, but just for the demonstration, these are all stackable enclosures. And if you come over here, it's a little easier to see, but there is an air gap also because heat tape needs to be able to breathe. So we put these small rubber stoppers. So one, the cages won't slide because this is extra strong exterior PVC. So it's a lot slipperier and smoother because it has the scratch-proof coating. We use those rubber stoppers because the cages won't be able to slide, and it gives the air gap for the heat tape. Now to show you where to put your probe, you can show them. So, quick little demonstration for you guys who haven't used cages with sliding doors before. It's got two tracks, a large one on top and a small one on bottom. To take these out, you just lift up, pull out, and you can completely remove these. This is clear acrylic. We just have a protective layer on this so it doesn't get scratched up during travel. So when you're trying to figure out where to put your probe, you need to put it at least in one of your enclosures. Normally you're going to get a stack of these, or you can have one, but you can run a thermostat, one thermostat for multiple enclosures. Heat tape, for example, I use 3-inch heat tape for this size enclosure, the 3 by 2 by 1 foot tall, and heat tape's only, this size is only 4 watts per foot, and we use about 2 feet for this. That ends up only being 8 watts per enclosure. So if you get something like a Vivarium VE100, which is what I like to use, it runs up to 700 watts. So you could run quite a few enclosures. You can run racks off them, and so if you're doing this, you really only need one thermostat. I would really recommend getting something like a Vivarium or a Quality rather than one off Amazon. Those $30 or $40 ones could malfunction, and then if the heat tape malfunctions, it's going to continue to heat, so you can actually hurt an animal or melt. More of a bin rather than an enclosure. This isn't going to melt, but you're going to want to make sure your animal's safe. When you're putting a probe in here, you can put it right through one of the air holes. You can put it right through one of the vents in the back, or right up here. This one happens to have a light in it, and you're going to want to tape it down towards the front of your enclosure. And the reason you want to do that is because heat tape heats from the back to the front. And if you put that if you put that probe way back here, the heat's going to stop here and not go all the way to the front. Here's another angle. We have it stood up right now. So if this is the front of your enclosure, again, you want the probe closer to the front of the enclosure. It's going to heat from back to front for you, and this whole thing will get nice and warm. But if you put your probe towards the back, it's not going to heat up. So it will be inside your enclosure where you're going to put your probe, but this is just to show you what recessed heat tape is, how to install it if you haven't, and if you're getting an enclosure. For example, if you ever need an enclosure from us, we do this for you. It's all set up and ready to go. But this is just a quick example. When you get enclosures from us, all you'll have to do is take it home, clean it up a little, and then this is ready to plug right into a thermostat. Okay guys, so a couple quick things I didn't cover when we were outside is anytime you're going to get something with heat tape, or you're going to purchase it on your own and install it or hook it up, anywhere you're going to get it from, there's never going to be a warranty. It's all up to the end user to be responsible, to make sure nothing malfunctions, and to keep an eye on it. So no matter what, you're going to want to keep checking on your heat tape. Like I said previous, make sure you're really keeping an eye on it. You can do things like put foil tape down, so that way if you're doing a rack, things aren't rubbing and it's not starting to wear and tear on the heat tape. Or if you're going to do it like the stacked enclosures we showed you outside, just watch, make sure you're not really moving things around, because if you rip something, you tear it, you break it or crack it or something like that, that's when malfunctions and problems can happen, and it is a fire hazard if not done properly. So make sure you're keeping an eye on it, and it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on your probe and check it weekly. You can hold it down with tape or whatever way you want to, but just make sure that probe's not moving, because the heat tape will continue to heat until that probe reaches the temperature that you have it set at. What we're looking at outside is 3-inch heat tape and 4-inch heat tape. You can get it in a bunch of other sizes like 6-inch, 12-inch, and even up to about 21-inch. Keep in mind, even when you're using heat tape for the first time, like let's say you have something brand new, the first time you plug it in, it might take a little while to get up to temperature, especially if you're using bigger heat tape. Like for example, 21-inch heat tape might take an hour or two to fully heat up. So don't plug it in, say it doesn't work after 5 minutes. Give it time. This right here is what I like to use. This is the VE100. And here's an example of a cheaper one you can get. This is not what I would recommend, especially if you're running racks. This we use for my bearded dragons. It just controls the bulbs. So worst case scenario, this malfunctions and the bulbs just stay on all day, which is perfectly fine. But when it comes to heat tape and stuff, you don't want something cheap and basic like this. It's way better to get some quality. So that's the video for today. Hopefully it explained heat tape a little bit more for you. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll be putting out a video every Wednesday. So we'll see you next Wednesday.